I think the most magical things that I've experienced would be like from my apprenticeship, with Horace. And again, just it was from the time of my adolescence being drawn to, hearing about these traditional native doctors and wanting so much to go in that direction. And so when I first made my way to Oklahoma and I'd be attending these peyote meetings. And this native elder Jack, there happens to be anyone Kiowa who's listening to this broadcast who is old enough to remember, uh, would may know him or remember him, but Jack would tell me that when the spirit comes into the peyote meetings, that you'll hear the voice of a woman singing in Kiowa. And I was sitting in this one meeting that my mentor ran one night, and we had this cold front come blasting through. And it happens in Oklahoma. Usually it's not that cold, but when you have these fierce winds coming in from the north, and the temperature can plummet, and it can stay cold for maybe a week or so. But it's probably down in the teens, and and I was hearing the voice of this woman in Kiowa, and there's only two women in the teepee that night, and one is Navajo, and of course she's not going to understand or could not possibly speak or sing in Kiowa. And the other woman who was Kiowa is quite elderly and a woman of that age, and that was the person Horace was actually treating in the teepee that night. And she's not going to sing like that. And I'm just looking around like, where is that coming from? And it's like, oh, it's that voice that Jack was telling me about, the voice of the woman singing in Kiowa, where he was telling me about the spirit coming into the teepee. But there were times too when Horace would be, and indigenous peoples, when they learned English, and they would create their own words. So when in treating their patients, they used the term doctoring, like Horace was doctoring this person or that person. So one of these, quote, doctoring meetings, this was in the beginning when I first got to see Horace work. And Horace would sometimes call like a live mole out of the ground, and he'd work with these moles, and he set it on the patient, and it was interacting with the patient as part of the healing somehow. And so I would see him do things like this, and that just amazed me. And he would take this mole, like he had a certain areas, like this elderly man, Jack, he would do a lot of, when he came back to, Horace came back to Oklahoma, they would set up the teepee whenever they were going to conduct a peyote meeting. And Horace would often conduct the meetings at Jack's home. And so there were the mole tunnels around the vicinity of the teepee, but sometimes Horace would say, okay, I'm going to go to this other town, Anadarko, and we'll set up a teepee over there. And he would transport the mole over to Anadarko. And within a matter of days, the mole's like a little industrious little guy or girl, and digging these tunnels. And people are like, don't mess with it. It's this medicine. And so, I remember staying at this man's home, and his lawn, and all of a sudden there's mole tunnels through the lawn. But And but Horace, things would happen. Like I'm allergic to bee and wasp stings, and my wrist was swollen pretty badly, as what usually happens if I get a sting. And Horace puts his hand on my wrist, and within minutes, maybe 5 minutes at most, my wrist shrinks down to normal size, no sign of swelling at all. And then Horace takes that swelling into his wrist. His wrist puffs up, it's taking on that swelling. And then I'd say in about 30 minutes or so, he dissipated the swelling in his own wrist. It was gone. So I'd watch Horace do these things. And, so I was just fascinated to